For in-home pet sitting, dog walking, pet taxi, and more. HirePetPals.com has everything you're looking for. Your pet will thank you when Pet Pals is who you choose.
Hi, welcome to our March Bark and Learn. My name is Kelly, and I am from Pet Pals, and this is the amazing
Tony from Dirty Dog Spa.
And today, Tony and we are going to be talking about grooming, and specifically about matting and how to properly care for the dog's coat so it doesn't get matted.
Yeah. I'm excited to tell you guys all about it because this is something we deal with on a daily basis. And now as we're coming into any snow that we do get now is wet and heavy, and then now we get the new spring rains. So that moisture is just a bad combination for a dog that you're going to keep a little bit longer. So we'll talk about that today and how you can take care of it at home.
Who is this gorgeous girl?
This is Dorothy. Dorothy, say hi to everybody. Say hi, don't be rude. Nope, she just wants love and attention.
And today, Dorothy is going to help us understand all about these mats. And specifically, Tony, can you start us off with talking about why we don't want to comb out mats?
Yeah, so there's lots of different reasons. So as a groomer, we're considering a lot of things when we're considering the condition of your dog's coat, what the outcome is that you want, and how long it's been since the last groom, and even the temperament of the dog. And when I say temperament, sometimes I'm also talking how patient they are going to be with me, how painful it is for them. So we have a lot of things that we consider when we look at a dog and say, can we brush this out? But before I go any further, our first concern is your pet, not the outcome or the look that you want. We're looking at the comfort of the dog, what is best for your dog based on their condition of their coat and their temperament and what they're gonna tolerate, because really what it comes down to, brushing is not pleasant, not when you have a lot that you're looking at. So as a groomer, what I'm going to be looking at is if just her feet are matted or just her tail or just her ears, I'm going to choose my battles, and I'm going to be okay, well, we can go through that. I know that Dorothy is good about brushing. I know her skin is not extra sensitive because she comes to Dirty Dog Spa on a regular basis. So I know her. I know her personality. I know her skin and her coat, and I know these are things that I can do. But one reason why I would say no is if it's her legs and her belly and her ears and her top knot and her tail, that really is just a really bad combination and is just going to be painful for the pet. Something that people don't understand, but everybody knows what razor burn is to your skin as a human. So what you will create when you brush and brush and brush with a pin brush in the same spot for too long of a period is you create brush burn, which is like razor burn to their skin.
Yeah.
So not only have we brushed out that mat and now we've broken all that hair, and so it doesn't look nice anyway. Now underneath your pet is going to have just irritated skin and be uncomfortable. So we're doing three things that are not good. We're creating a bad memory of grooming. We're hurting the skin. We're hurting that hair and that coat. It's just not good. So in that moment, we would decide to just shave that coat off if it's safe for their skin. If it's safe for their coat, because you don't want to shave a double-coated dog.
Right.
Then we'll just start over. And sometimes I'll just decide to just brush a tail, just brush the ears and face, but everything else will go shorter. So every dog, we're going to make those decisions for different reasons. But there's multiple reasons why it's good to keep your dog mat free. Some situations, it's really common for dogs to get matted in their armpit. So if their armpit is matted, they're going to lose range of motion, like jumping up on things. So that's not good. A second thing that can happen is when you create a mat, they can trap moisture under there, and bacteria will grow, as you know, if you have moisture sitting on a coat and sitting on the skin. So all those things are just not comfortable, and it's smelly. And then when you bathe your dog at home in between grooms, they're never going to completely dry. And when you just let a dog's coat just sit and dry on its own, it just never smells as pleasant. And especially if those mats and there's going to be moisture under there, it's just not going to smell good. So those are all reasons why it's just important to keep them mat free. Every dog, even though you maybe have the same breed, their hair is just going to be a little bit different. The texture is going to be different. And, you know, she doesn't mind brushing. She's very good with it. So I keep her long, even though she has to be bathed and brushed every week. So, yeah.
Can you, Tony, would you mind talking about, is there one area that's more prevalent for matting than another area on a dog?
So the armpits, like I talked, those are areas, and I think it's just because it's just a tighter area.
Okay.
So that's an important area to keep an eye on. Ears and tails.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's just start off with some tools that you can use and how to really kind of attack and the mat that you're specifically working on. So something that I really like is, this is just a brush spray, and they come in all forms. The most important thing, and I cannot stress this enough, that you do not use human detanglers, that it is made for a dog. And it's very important because the pH of dog's skin and coat is different than ours. So it would actually be better for me to use the dog's products than the dog using mine. So before anything, you can buy anything you want. We carry stuff here, you can find it anywhere. Just make sure it's for a dog. But this is just really nice because manipulating those mats and brushing that hair is just nice when it's kind of damp. So this one is just a nice light mister. It doesn't get her really wet. And this particular one has a really light scent. So why that's nice is, you know, maybe you're going to be brushing your dog before company comes over. Everybody's going to love your dog when they have a nice clean scent. So that's kind of nice. I always try to set my dogs up so everybody loves them. So that's one tool. The second tool that is the most important is combs. And here's just an example of two different combs. So you see how the teeth are closer together on this end and farther apart on this. They're the same on each. So a comb, I could not be a dog groomer if I didn't have a comb. That's how important a comb is for me, and it should also be for you. So combs are my favorite, and I'll get into exactly why. And then a pin brush. And you can see they have, they're just a nice pin brush. That's what they're called. So I can't explain to you why there really is a science to it, but there is a pattern to all of these set in place and really makes a difference because these two brushes look the same, but they are completely different. This one is my all-time favorite, and actually this one is called Miracle Coat, and you can find this on Amazon. We carry them here, but you can find them anywhere, but this is like my all-time favorite brush. So we'll go over two things that I'd like to do. I like to pick the dog and separate it in body parts just because it makes it easier for you and for the dog. So we're just gonna work on this back leg. So what I try to do first is I take my comb, and if you can't go all the way through, then I know this is the area I need to work. So then I'll go through and just work, and I'm just holding onto her leg, really supporting her body weight so she's comfortable, and I'll work on that one spot, and then I'll check my work. Sorry, Dorothy, they need to see. And then I'll check my work with my comb because I want to make sure I can pull it all the way through. So the reason why this is so important is because what people and owners do, because you're not aware of it, you'll brush and you're like, oh, everything looks nice and fluffy. But really, underneath all of this is where the mats lie. And this is what's going to help you find that and check your work. So I always begin and end with the comb. The comb is so important for that. The second most important thing that I want to make sure that you know is, so when we have a mat, so for example, I'll use this strand of hair. So here her hair begins, here her mat is, and here's the end of her hair. So what we want to do when we're tackling a mat is we are working from the very edge of the mat, and we're going to brush our way into the center. Because what will happen sometimes is people will take and go behind the mat and they'll yank and pull, and it's really painful for the dog. So if our mat was in the center, we would be starting from the edge and we'd be working our way in, just kind of like slowly detangling and working it out. And then, and as you can notice, I'm hanging onto this hair so I can brush on my hand versus on their skin as much as possible. So that's the most common thing that I see is people will go right behind the mat and just try to yank and pull it all the way through. And if you think about it, if you did that with your hair, You wouldn't be happy and it would be painful. So let's make sure we're working from the edge of the mat and working our way in. And then it's not going to be as uncomfortable for them. And when you're using your cutting spray, using the proper brush, and using your comb checking your work, it really is a pleasant thing. Let's say your dog isn't going to enjoy it and doesn't like it. Then we start with little things. You know, maybe you just start with the item on them and you're not actually brushing. You want them to get used to it. You just want to create a good experience and them liking it. So maybe, depending on the dog, maybe it's just setting it next to them and petting them. Maybe you're just putting the brush right on them before you start using it. And then the next step would be using it without having to do a lot of pulling and a lot of dematting. First, you just try to use it in a pleasant way. Another good thing is giving treats as you're brushing, taking breaks, but never try to do it all at once, because that's a lot for them. We get a lot of questions about the Furminator, so I want to talk about that very briefly. It's not made for a dog like this, like a Shih Tzu. It's really good for double-coated or short-haired dogs, and it's great if it's used properly. It's not to be used on a daily basis, and it's not to be used in place of the brush. So what this is doing ultimately, it is carding the coat and pulling out dead hairs. So if you were to go over a coat and nothing is coming out, then that means that body is naturally not releasing those dead hairs. So it's really important that you're using it properly and not overusing it. So it's really good for short-haired, it's actually good for like a lab, a rat terrier, a chihuahua, something like that. But something that people don't realize, that this is actually like part of our blade that we use like on our clippers when we shave dogs. So what that means, and why I'm telling you that, is when you're using it, you have to look at the growth pattern of the hair, and this has to go in the same direction as the hair is growing. If you were to go in an opposite direction, you'd actually be cutting those hairs. So it's really important that you're using it properly and not too often. So this is good on a cat, a short-haired cat as well. But this you would want to use like maybe once a week. So it does not take the place of the brushing. It would just be something you would use along with it, with your brushing. So this can be used on a cat, and all the suggestions that we used with a comb and with a brush also apply to cats. The only difference is I really love where these pins get really tight, works really good on cat hair. And cats actually, more commonly than dogs, will get that matting under the armpits like we talked at the beginning of the video. And they really can't jump up on things once they have that matting in their armpit. So it's really important to be watching for that.
Tony, thank you so much. That was such amazing information, super helpful. What are we going to be doing next month for the Bark and Learn?
I'm so excited. We're going to talk about bathing your pet at home. So even though we're going to be filming it here where we bathe all our dogs, I'm going to just simplify it so you know how to do it at home. Because sometimes you just get in situations where your pet is muddy or smelly and it's the end of the day and you want to do it at home yourself, and you totally can. So we're going to walk through some of those, just some easy, simple ways that you can do it at home. Yeah.
Tony has amazing tips. And I'm like, whoa, what? So stay tuned for next month's Bark and Learn, because it's going to be all the information about bathing, which is super important. Tony, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we'll see you next month for our Bark and Learn of bathing.
For in-home pet sitting, dog walking, pet taxi, and more. HirePetPals.com has everything you're looking for. Your pet will thank you when Pet Pals is who you choose.